Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Smirking Gun Reviews, and we're back with something that probably a lot of you are not looking forward to, and that's my latest episode review of Castle Rock, the show that I've definitely said on more than one occasion I can't wait to be over, and on more than one occasion I've been called stupid and embarrassing and retarded practically, so I'm not looking forward to the comments in this, but all that being said, episode 7 of this show is a standout, the best episode of the series, and one of the best episodes of television I've seen all year. So, stick that in your pipe and smoke it. But I'm not bitter. This really is a good episode called The Queen. It's full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, I highly recommend you go and watch it. This is Sissy Spacek's episode. This is a standout performance in a television show, period. It's the best chapter of this little series so far. It definitely feels the most like all I can put into words is I feel like I'm watching a Stephen King chapter come to life. The visuals, the way the story is told, the detail is all there. So in this episode, basically, we get Ruth's system. She's talked about needing one, and she has one. She's also talked about how, time usually, we think of it as moving forward, like on a people mover, and she's kind of off of it. And we get to see that in every way. This is jumping all over the place. And everything is seen through her perspective. Pretty much kind of like the whole show is seen through her in this one episode's perspective. And it's really, really well done. The writer, Stan Shaw, I didn't look up what he's done before, but Greg Yataines, I'm not saying his name right, but he has done a couple of my favorite shows. He's done episodes of Lost. He did a bunch of episodes of House. I love his work. And he does a great job here. So much of this made me think of also Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Just the way a lot of the scenes were filmed, like the memories were flowing one right into the next. You'd walk right into a room. You'd be in one place. You'd be in another place. You'd be in another place. No matter what room you'd go into, it flowed seamlessly. It was so well shot, so well thought out. And then acting, I mean, this is the kind of episode that you see how great Sissy Spacek has been all her life, whether she's playing a psychic that goes, ballistic at the prom in Carrie, or as a grieving mother in movies like In the Bedroom. And then this, she just shows how great she is. And this also just showcases the disease of Alzheimer's is terrible. But this is one of the most interesting ways to look at it that I've ever seen. And how it explains her system and the chess pieces so greatly. That the reason why they're all over the house. They're like her totems. Because no matter where she is, she can end up lost in her memories and be taken away to any time period. It's why she keeps thinking she's just jumping all over the place, because that's what this disease does to her. One of the things I liked was when they were remembering the doctor's office, and how the sounds would be muted and change, kind of like being underwater a little bit. Sometimes it sounded. It was really just really cool. But going back more to what she's going through, it's just amazing how they pulled this off, and just. She'd be in a scene with somebody and be completely somewhere else, and it would explain where she was in that time, in another episode, and it would explain her kind of looks and tics and the way she would talk, and where it just seemed like she wasn't there. It was just phenomenal, and it put so many things in context that were not there before. This is one of those, I'm glad they made this episode, because it does now, when you go back and watching other episodes over again, it does improve them. It does explain more. So some of the problems I might have had with some of the episodes, they're not totally fixed at all. But when it comes to like what goes on with her character, it definitely tweaks it so that you can have a different perspective and you can appreciate some of the things that were going on previously that maybe you didn't understand. And I just love the way she plays. She's not playing it as like a victim of a disease, that she is still fighting every step of the way through this whole thing. Because in the end, what we're dealing with is her lost in her memories with this creepy McCreep-Eyes in the house situation. So through all of this that's going on, all jumping around through all these memories, there is the present that she keeps trying to stay in. But it's through the past memories that she is finding her way to trying to solve her way out of the problem in the present. And that's just an incredible way to do it. It's great because that just makes you think of some of the great storylines in Stephen King's, kind of stories that he's done. There's another thing that made me think about, try to understand and appreciate the show a little bit more than I have, like with stories like Dolores Claiborne and things like that. But just, and seeing, that she wasn't just, that she was trying to fight for her son, Henry, and she was standing up to the preacher, but it's like, but her mind was already, like, she called herself chicken shit, but it's like, she just couldn't remember the times that she was trying to fight back. But she starts to remember through this episode, as she's stumbling through the house, bumping into memory after memory, and latching onto things and coming back to the present. It's just so well crafted and deeply tragic at the same time, because even as she's remembering things leading towards her trying to find the bullets for the gun, that this probably isn't going to end well, because we've seen the present where the kid's outside bleeding and Alan's running up to find out, hey, what the hell's going on? And seeing the house all torn up. And it's because she's been stumbling through the house, like, the things are knocked over and things are out of place because, when she's, going through other memories, she doesn't exactly, she's not walking through a room like it's the present. She's walking through it like it's the past. So things could get knocked over and things like that. This episode does give Creepy a little bit more to do, a little bit more to say. It does, really keep pushing the whole, who the fuck is this guy? He seems to know, like, a lot, but it's not her husband. I started wondering if this was somehow, like, a young version of her husband, like as a teenager or an early adult. And speaking of her husband, I mean, wow. Stephen King has I keep saying Stephen King, but this was produced and made by a whole bunch of people that, have nothing to do with Stephen King. I don't even know how much he had to do with this. But the inspiration taken by his stories is evident in these. And there always seems to be like a bad preacher in them. And this one's no different. And the more I see of this guy, he's nuts. The whole going out into the woods thing and that story he told at the picnic, their little creepy picnic, that was messed up. But it was fucking great. Like, just seeing the psychosis of this guy. But Henry has heard the noise. Or is it just a shared psychosis? I don't know. And with the whole thing with the deaf guys, so something's going on top of all this. But I don't really care about the overall arcing story about Henry's past and anything, because this episode is just so good at telling a story about Alzheimer's and kind of a love story between her and Alan, that after all these years, you know, he's been that constant, and he came back to town for her. And the happiest parts of this episode are her memories of him, and you know, teaching her the magic drop, which was great when she used that when he tells her to take the pill, the sedative, and she fakes it so that she can try to get upstairs to get the bullets. I really hoped that we had gotten something when she asked him, "Who are you?" When she was in the tub, which was a tense scene, because we don't know anything about what this guy is and what he's capable of, except that people around him seem to die terribly. Why he's not just killing her is one of these kind of questions. And then the fact that, you know, after she stabs him, he doesn't go after her. You know, and that's what's, you know, sad, is that she is so afraid for her life, that this whole trip down the rabbit hole of memories that ends up leading her to finding the bullets, which is a great scene between her and her dead husband, that's talking to her like, you know, Tyler Durden style, like, you know, you're talking to your, you know, basically your imaginary friend right now. You didn't leave, you didn't do this. I mean, it's a great little scene, but in that confrontation that she has in her own mind, she finds the bullets. And in her terror, I mean, that also when she's trying to get out of the house and all the people that are there, and in that memory that she's like trapped in, that's probably where everything got knocked over, is that she can't, you know, like she's probably swinging around trying to get out of the room, trashing the place in the process. And, you know, she gets out, she digs up the dog, she finds the bullet, she gets and goes and hides. And, you know, this is where she ends up blasting away. And it's really sad, because here it was, I thought that they might cut away again and end the episode there like they did last week with Henry, where we got this moment where he's in that sound booth and it seemed like something was about to happen and they just hard cut it away. But in this, no, they tell us what happened, and she killed Alan. And it's just, maybe this kid knew that was what was going to happen. I don't know, because he seems to know everything else. And then that ending where she's washing the blood off, and it seamlessly goes into her, like, going back, getting lost in the memory of when he came back to her. And she says, "Don't leave." I don't think she's really time traveling. I just think that this was a really great episode of trying to tell what a mental illness can do to somebody, and how tragically this ended for her story. I mean, her story's still continuing, but for Alan and her, just powerful, powerful stuff. It doesn't really advance the story along. This is all character study, and it's just great. And so I do applaud the show, the screenwriter and the director and the acting that's going on in this. Just freaking incredible. So I may not care for a lot of this series, but this is genuinely fantastic television, and I hope that she gets nominated, or somehow this episode gets nominated for writing or directing, or like like director of photography, something. This definitely deserves to win some Emmys. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I did not see a teaser trailer or anything for next week, but if you liked this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you on the next episode of Castle Rock next week. Hopefully it's as good as this one. Have a great night. Bye.